Following the events in Georgia in the summer, many countries who are partners of NATO have debated whether partnership is enough anymore or whether moves to full membership need to be made. One of the countries where this debate has been taking place is Finland. To discuss this debate, I'm joined today by Finland's ambassador to NATO, Arpo Polo. Ambassador Polo, I'd like to ask you about some of the debate in Finland concerning possible NATO membership. The recent Nobel Peace Prize winner Martti Ahtisaari has said that Finland should join NATO because it's the optimal channel through which to streamline peacekeeping efforts, and also that Finland shouldn't be left out, and it also shouldn't be seen as a move against Russia. Can you tell me what the thinking is in Finland at this moment?
There has been a debate on the possible NATO membership or alignment with NATO for years. I would say that it's a rather polarized situation. There are many who believe that Finland must rely also in the future on its own efforts for its own defense, and that is incompatible with NATO membership. Then there are those who see possible NATO membership as a sort of further integration into European and Atlantic structures. They see it not as much as a defense question than a question of integration to organizations where other democratic countries also work.
Is it fair to say that there's quite a lot of debate within the government? For example, a policy report that was designed to be turned over for parliamentary review concerning national security and defence policy has already been delayed twice and is now planned to be presented next year. And it deals with issues such as NATO membership and the EU and Nordic troops. Do you feel or do you think that the delay concerning the handing over this report is because the debate is so intense within the government?
No, actually within the government there is no real debate on NATO membership being on the agenda now or in the coming years. Even those within the government who are openly in principle for the membership say quite clearly that it's not on the agenda in the near future. So it's a question of years even for those who are for the membership.
So the delay in handing this over can be attributed to what then?
Of course, after the Georgian incident in August, that has meant that there must be some further discussion, further deliberations, and many times this kind of drafting takes its time. The white paper is very wide. It not only concerns NATO membership, which is only a very small part of it, it also handles, and the most important part of it handles, the Finnish national defense and its strategies, its components, and it's supposed to give the lines for that work for the next four years.
A report that was made public at the beginning of November concludes that the impact of NATO membership on Finland's sovereignty would be significant. Do you feel, this was by the way, a report that was commissioned by the Finnish Foreign Ministry. Do you feel that this kind of implication will have a major impact on public support for NATO membership?
Well, actually that report is extremely new. I haven't even seen it myself because it's not in electronic form. It's still on its way from Helsinki to Brussels. But I have seen parts of it, and that part not only says that the implications of NATO membership would be significant, it also compares it with the similar implications of our European Union membership, which it states to be even more significant at the time.
So you don't see that as a potential obstacle?
No, I don't see that.
Okay. In terms of Finland's stand on the issue which has affected a lot of thinking in partnership countries, the events of the summer with Russia and Georgia, can you tell me whether this is seen as something that makes NATO membership seem something that's more urgent, or something that's actually, as your foreign minister stated, something that may actually be seen as a factor which slows down a possible Finnish NATO membership? Alexander Stubb, your foreign minister, said the tense situation between Russia and NATO today should rather slow down Finnish membership of NATO. Is that correct?
I would say that as far as I have been able to follow the debate in the Finnish media, also from the letters to editors pages, I would say that the events in Georgia in August and the present tension between Russia and NATO countries has polarized the opinions. Those who have been against the membership, they say that this proves that that line is the one that we should follow. Some of those who are for the membership say that this proves that we should be more quick to consider membership in real terms.
One other point that was made by Foreign Minister Stubb was that if this kind of move eventually towards NATO membership does happen in the future, that it should be coordinated with Sweden. So does this mean that effectively there has to be agreement within both countries before any significant step can be made in the terms of membership?
In our integration throughout the past decades, we have walked hand in hand with Sweden in many respects. That happened with the EU membership. And we follow very closely each other's opinions and the trends in both countries. So I think also in this NATO question we will work very closely with Sweden. It does not mean that all the opinions have to be harmonized, that everything has to be step by step accordingly in very close harmony, and that one of the countries would be hostage of the other's opinions. No, it does not mean that.
You have, of course, worked very closely with Russia in the past. It's a very valuable partner, certainly in terms of trade, for example. And Russia has its own impressions of what can be arranged for the future in terms of security. It suggested a new European security architecture, or at least Foreign Minister Lavrov has. And he outlined the specific role that he could see Finland playing. He said Finland would serve as an expert making constructive proposals on the implementation of treaties. The help of a country like Finland, a respected European and neutral country, in starting the international discussion could be important for the necessary and creative work. What's been the impression in Finland of those comments?
Well, first of all, as our foreign minister stated immediately after that statement, that Finland does not consider itself a neutral country anymore. Since the membership in the EU, we have not considered ourselves a neutral country in a way that we used to be. We are not member of any military alliance, but that's a different thing. EU for us is a very important part of our foreign policy and our view of the world. And in that respect, we don't speak of neutrality anymore. When it comes to our relationship with Russia, yes, it is very important, especially in trade. They have become, again, the largest trading partner for us as a single country. EU, of course, as a whole is more important, but as an individual country, yes, Russia is the largest trading partner, and that trade is growing. And we see it as a very important in building our own prosperity. There are difficulties at times in that cooperation, but that does not change the overall trend. It is also a fact that during or after the Cold War, after the collapse of Soviet Union, our bilateral trade collapsed also, which caused us tremendous economic difficulties in the early 1990s, but now it's on the positive trend again. When it comes to the proposal for the new European structure, we are ready to discuss it, but we think that the OSCE is already a European security structure, and we would be very unwilling to make changes in the Helsinki Accords of the 1975, which is the basis for the OSCE and the security cooperation in Europe. But of course we are quite ready to discuss the contents and the ideas that the Russians have in that respect.
So we can take from that then you don't agree with Foreign Minister Lavrov's comments concerning the OSCE, which he's recently criticised?
We think that yes, of course, in all organizations and processes there is room for criticism, constructive criticism, and we should work to improve the OSCE and other structures that are present. We are open to it.
As you mentioned earlier, this is not the first time that Finland's potential membership of NATO has come up for debate. Do you think that the circumstances surrounding the debate this time make it more likely that it will lead to a conclusion?
That remains to be seen. I mean, it is a ongoing debate, and hopefully also some new ideas will be raised during the debate, new sort of focuses of the discussion. These debates tend to go like trains in fixed tracks. I think shaking those tracks at times makes the debate lively and perhaps even more productive.
Is it fair to say that this debate about NATO's membership is not just in political circles but also in the general public in Finland?
Yes. Just watching the discussion over internet and the different media pages and letters of editors sent to the media, yes, it is quite lively, and many participants take part in it.
And who do you feel is directing who at the moment? Are the politicians directing the public, or do you feel the public's actually directing some of the political choices?
I don't think that the debate is actually directed at all, neither way. I think it's a free-flowing debate and discussion.
I want to ask you about the partnership activities that Finland has with NATO, because they are quite substantial. Do you feel that by perhaps ramping up the partnership activities, that Finland effectively becomes a far more active and closer partner of NATO, and that kind of bridges the gap of between in and out of NATO, a kind of middle road?
I think either a country is a member of NATO or it is not a member of NATO. There's no way to sort of slide into membership, and there's no half membership. Our cooperation and partnership with NATO is a very close one. It is very pragmatic. It aims primarily from our side to increase our capabilities to be constructive in crisis management operations. We have participated in the first UN peacekeeping operation since 1956. Especially during the Cold War, it was a very good foreign policy tool for us. It was a way for us to show that we also are part of the Western world, that we want to be a constructive member of the international community. During the past 10 years, there's another dimension to that also, that we want to acquire experiences and knowledge that we can use also in developing our own defense structures and defense capability. Working with NATO through the PARP and OCC processes enables us to be on the first wave of knowledge and experience in crisis management operations. That's essential not only in our participation in the NATO-led operations in Afghanistan and Kosovo, it is also essential for our participation in the European Union operations, and very helpful in participation in United Nations operations.
Final question. A recent meeting of Norwegian and Russian chief diplomats, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said, the further north you get, the better East-West relations get. First of all, do you think that's true? And secondly, do you think that that will be able to help with future security issues such as those in the high north of border security and energy security, etc.?
Well, hopefully the high north questions will be part of the discussion agendas in the coming years. There are huge possibilities economically, energy, security-wise, and all those questions need wide cooperation of all the countries that are bordering the Arctic or North Pole area. The climate change may bring about the easier usability of the northwest and northeast passages, which means that if that happens, there will be huge changes in the transportation routes in the world, in Northern Atlantic. And that, of course, is both positive a factor, but it also brings about new challenges for all of us.
And you do think that East-West relations are better the further north you get?
At least at the moment, there are no problems in the north, and I certainly hope that the situation in the north will further develop in a very positive mood.
Ambassador Polhov, thank you very much.
Thank you.